And that's the beauty of embodiment. It's like when you're embodied, you're no longer like trying to impress or on the edge of your seat. Do you like me? Or I need to figure this out. Or I'm so overwhelmed. I got to get to the solution. You are dropped into your throne.
Trust flows, surrender, let go. Trust flows, surrender, let go. Trust flows, surrender, let go. I'm the one I've been waiting for.
Welcome back to the Highest Self podcast. My name is Sahara Rose, and on this podcast, I love to take spiritual concepts and make them really grounded, embodied, fun, relatable, so they can actually serve your needs. And I'm really excited for today's solo cast. These are like the moments I get to drop in with you, share with you what I've really been working through, what has actually allowed me to have the most massive transformation of my life after my divorce, which I'll be sharing with you throughout this episode. And this word is called embodiment. And before we drop into this episode, be sure to hit subscribe wherever you're listening to this podcast. That is the best way to stay up to date on the latest episodes. We've got this in video format, so if you're just hearing my voice, be sure to also watch our fabulous outfits on video as well on Spotify, YouTube, or the Apple Store. This is the best way to stay in the flow with future conversations and also allows the podcast to reach more people. So hit subscribe so I can keep vibing with you on all future episodes. Now let's get into this one. So you've probably heard this buzzword somewhere around embodiment. Oh, they're so embodied. The embodied approach to this, how to be more embodied. But like, what does this word actually mean? And how is it the missing link in our spiritual and healing practice? And how I actually used my own method of embodiment that I'll be sharing with you on massively transforming every area of my life. Had the most massive glow up physically and spiritually, emotionally, even my home. I mean, look at this podcast setup. This is in my home right now. And none of this would have been possible without the embodiment work. So let's have a cup of chai tea, get yourself comfortable, and let's talk about what embodiment actually means. So the word embodiment, E-M, means to be in, body, the body, and ent, in a state of. So it literally means a state of being in your body. So you might be saying, well, I'm always in my body, aren't I? I'm a human being. Well, you are technically in your body, but are you actually feeling your body right now? How does your stomach feel? How do your shoulders feel? How do your feet feel? Where do you feel yourself in space and time right now? Are you aware of your present moment reality? Are you clenching your glutes? Are you holding your breath? So let's just take a moment right now to actually feel the state of our body and notice where there are any holding patterns. Tends to be shoulders and neck, stomach, and glutes. I'm just taking a few breaths right now. And as you exhale, I invite you to bring the energy down your body and start to really feel yourself in your feet. Now you just became embodied. Are you ready for a form of healing that goes beyond the mind and into the body? Intuitively, you know that dance, movement, and actually feeling your emotions is the true path to healing, but you don't really know where to get trained in this ancient and more feminine form of wisdom. Well, this is what my embodiment certification at the Highest Self Institute is all about. So for 3 months, you'll be diving into my triple E method: emote, embody, and express. You will be learning how to use movement, dance, and healing the nervous system to help you release stored tension and traumas that we are holding onto somatically in the body, and how to coach other people to have this transformation as well. Whether you are a yoga teacher, meditation teacher, breathwork teacher, or simply want to dive deeper into your own healing journey to move out these stored emotions and blossom into your highest, most sensual and embodied, expressive, radiant, magnetic self. Oh, I'm excited just talking about it. Then come join me in our embodiment certification. Doors are open right now, so you can find all of the information over at highestselfinstitute.com. That's highest Self Institute. You can find direct links below in the show notes. We are running this container live, so I will be on the live calls with you, as well as my co-founder, Dr. Neeta Bhushan, who really breaks down the science of embodiment and nervous system healing. So we'll be joining forces with you live on the calls every single week, guiding you through this certification. So again, head over to highestselfinstitute.com. Doors are open right now. We have a special discount as well. So head over to the show notes, and I can't wait to meet you. So most of us are living in our heads. We have been taught to live in our heads from the times that we were children. So as a kid, you were emotional, you were embodied. Every person is born embodied, like an animal. Like we are born feeling things, touching things, emoting, having our experiences. But then our parents, our school teachers, our caretakers told us to stop. Stop moving around so much, you're fidgeting. Stop crying, you're making a scene. Oh my God, don't have a fit for this. Go to your room, you're on timeout right now. You're too sensitive, you react to everything. Oh, grow up. You're so immature. Big girls don't cry. Big boys definitely don't cry. In fact, boys don't cry. Girls, you can cry alone in your room, but no one actually really wants to be with you when you're crying. So let's go back to remembering our experiences with our emotions as children. Were we taught that it is safe to be emotional, that there is space for our sadness and anger and grief and loneliness, that we could emote them fully and they would be received with wide open arms and our family would help us process it? If so, adopt me. Or were we told one of those things? So I want you to just take a moment right now to reflect for yourself. When I was emotional as a child, how did my family respond? You can even hit pause right now and journal this out. Do you remember crying in your room alone? Were you able to share how you were feeling with your parents? When you had an emotional response, was that accepted or negated? What were you told about tears, about anger? Were they looked down to as lower emotions that you should not have, hide? So I remember when I was a kid, my dad's mantra was be rational, not emotional. So whenever I would cry, my dad is like an MIT scientist, atheist, 0% emotional at all. And so when I would cry, he would be like, I literally can't understand a word you're saying and I can't be around this. And he would just leave. And he would say, come back when you're neutral. And I can see why he was trying to teach me that when you're emotional, people don't want to be around you. And that if you want to get heard, you can't be coming from an emotional place. I can see why he was trying to teach me that lesson. But then that mantra he would tell me, be rational, not emotional, was telling my little girl self that when you are emotional, no one wants to be around you. You are a burden, you are a drag, and you need to go by yourself and handle your emotions and come back poised with a mask on if you want to have any form of love. So that was my childhood imprinting. The gift is it has allowed me to be very non-reactive. I don't get angry at all. I can be very calm in different situations. And even when I feel some type of way, I can really describe how I feel without showing how I feel. That was the gift. I really channeled that more masculine energy. However, the shadow of that was I didn't show people how I felt. I wasn't even honest with myself how I felt. Feeling my feelings was really difficult for me. On top of that, I'm a Capricorn, 8 planets. Capricorn moon too. So it was hard because then I would find myself in relationships where I was chill. I was the cool girl. Nothing ever pissed me off. You can go out without me. That's fine. You can not talk to me. That's fine. You can this. It's not fine. In fact, I'll never let you know that I'm feeling any kind of way. And I will actually negate my own experience that I feel any kind of way because I just want to make sure you still love me. Because if I'm emotional, you'll leave. Like my dad. He didn't want to be around me when I was emotional, so you probably don't want to be around me when I'm emotional. So let me not have any emotions. Will you still love me if I'm perfect? But then what that does is it caused me to have relationships where I wasn't really being met. I didn't have that like deep, fulfilling emotional enrichment that my soul longed for because I wasn't showing my full emotional self. I was scared to bring all of me to the table because of the fear of abandonment. So that very thing that I wanted to be loved, I thought by not showing my full emotional spectrum, I would have that, but it actually was the very thing that kept me from it. Because if we don't show those also more shadowy, denser emotions, which I don't even like to say that because it's all equal, actually. We need them all. But if we're not able to access that range, we can't access true sacred union, true bliss, true joy, true like depth and fulfillment that we really want. Because if we're neutral, it's just blah. So I'm curious for you, what were you trained to be like as a child? Was it safe for you to be your full emotional self, or were you reprimanded for it in some type of way? Share this with us on Instagram. So after my divorce, I found out that my then husband had been cheating on me. And it was the hardest thing of my life because I, first of all, had zero idea. I didn't see it coming. But now I was faced with all of these emotions that were actually underneath the hood of the car. Ways that we actually were not deeply connected, living very different lives, didn't have that deep emotional connection that is necessary for a lifelong partnership. So I believe our souls actually choose our experiences to awaken us to different purposes, dharmas that we are meant to fulfill. So I needed to experience that infidelity, literally given the red pill of, wow, now you have to look at the distance that was in your relationship. Had that not happened, I would not have looked at it. Right? So that pain of betrayal caused me to look at, first of all, myself. How was I in that relationship for so long where I wasn't feeling met and I wasn't feeling really heard and understood and we were living such separate lives? And how can I take ownership of the ways that I wasn't really showing my full self? And the gift of the heartbreak was now all of a sudden I was feeling all these things that I never felt before. Grief, pain, anger, sadness, loneliness, disgust. But feeling all of those things also made me feel, wow, true love is possible. Wow, the way that my friends are showing up for me, this is what love is. Wow, the way that the universe is supporting me, this is what feeling supported is. Wow, the ways that I am lining up and seeing synchronicities, this is what trust is. Wow, the ways that I am like letting go and putting all my things in storage and seeing where life will take me, this is what surrender is. I got to actually experience the emotions on the other side. My range opened up. So this happened at the end of 2022. So I was deep in my spiritual journey, had already created the Dharma Coaching Institute and written 4 books and deep in my spiritual journey. So it was like being awake within a dream of I knew the only way to heal is to feel. I knew that. So I said, I'm going to go all the way in. I'm going to dive to the bottom of this barrel and feel it all because this is my chance. This is my moment. If I don't feel it now, I'm going to be feeling it for the rest of my life. So let's go in. So I began this process, which I later coined as the Triple E method that I now certify coaches in at the Highest Self Institute. I'll be sharing with you more about that. But in the moment, I didn't realize that this was what was happening. So, when you wake up from something really big and you wake up and you're like, oh, wow, that's actually my reality. And it like hits you again of like, oh, that wasn't a nightmare. This is real. And you wake up and you just feel all of this sadness and all of this grief. And you often start crying first thing. So when I would wake up and I would feel that grief, I would let myself emote. Feel whatever it is, whether it is sadness, whether it is anger, whether it is loneliness, whether it is whatever the thing is. And I would let myself emote, feel. But I also knew the power of the body. So embodiment is something I've been studying for many, many years, not just through dance and movement, but also through the nervous system and somatic healing. So I knew that the first step of it was to feel, but now I needed to move it through my body. So I started to embody. So from having that feeling, rather than just crying and having it be stuck there, I would start to move my body. I would notice, where do I feel this in my body? So if I felt this sadness, where do I feel it? Well, I feel it in my heart. What does it feel like? It feels like contraction. What color is it? It's like gray. It's like this murky gray fog over my heart. And then I would start to move it, or I would tap it. And then I would play music and start to embody what I desire to feel instead. So instead of feeling this murky contraction in my heart, what do I desire to experience? Well, I want to feel heart opening. I want to feel surrender. I want to feel trust. I want to feel love. I want to feel held. So I would play music for me that embodied that expression. And I would start to then express it through my body. And that was the third part of it, express. So whether I danced it, which maybe later became a poem I would write, or journaling, or recording a voice note of myself, or drawing, I would now take this embodiment and express it into form. So I began calling this method emote, embody, express. And that became the Triple E method that we now train coaches in our certified embodiment coach training at the Highest Self Institute, which doors are now open for today. So the beauty of this practice is it invites your whole self. The problem with most healing in the world today is it only focuses on the mind. And we have already been so trained and so conditioned to be in the mind that the truth is, the mind is never going to solve the mind's problems. The issues we have is from already being so in the mind. So further thinking about it is not what's going to make it go away. You can think about your problem left, right, upside down, and guess what? You're often just going to end up more confused and more overwhelmed because you're never going to get to the bottom of things. The beauty of the mind is there's so many different pathways, but that's also the curse, is there's so many different pathways. You're never going to have a conclusion that the ego feels satisfied of, like, we've thought about this problem enough, like, let's move on. It never gets there. It's when you drop out of the mind that you get there. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. So we all have those big things we need to get off of our chest. Maybe it's a conversation you need to have with your partner or your best friend or a colleague. And the thing is, if we hold on to these things and don't talk about them, they can really affect us negatively, our mental, physical, emotional well-being. And this is where therapy comes in. It allows you to have a safe space to talk about those things that you're holding on to, maybe figuring out how you want to say it to that person before going directly and saying it to them, and working through any of your own issues that may be showing up around it. Because the truth is, how we do anything is how we do everything. And sometimes these smaller situations in our lives are actually a reflection of a bigger pattern that we have inside of ourselves. So again, this is why I love therapy and highly recommend giving BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. You just fill out a brief questionnaire and you get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch them at any time for no additional charge. So it makes therapy just really affordable and easy for people, which our society needs. So get things off your chest with BetterHelp by visiting betterhelp.com/Sahara. You get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Sahara, and you can find that link in the show notes.
So trust your intuition, trust your inner wisdom, trust your inner guidance, close your eyes and listen.
So, on my single journey of traveling the world the year after my divorce, I had this like subconscious, like back of my mind thought of like, maybe I'm going to meet the guy in Portugal. Maybe I'm going to meet him in London. Maybe I'm going to meet him there, and kind of being let down. Like, you know, when you like walk into the room and you're like, is he here? And he's not. And then you're like, ugh. And I noticed myself doing that. And I was like, you know what? Maybe this love story isn't about me meeting someone and then I'm happily ever after with this new person. I'm out of the being single part of my life and in this better relationship, and now it's all worth it. But maybe this love story is really about me. So I started to tell this to myself in my head. Maybe this love story is really about me. Maybe this love story is really about me. And I wrote this poem that I turned into the song Love Story, which is the last song on my new album, My Body's an Altar, that really tells the story of what happened next after my divorce, of putting my things in storage, stepping into the unknown, facing my deepest shadows and my deepest fears, but knowing that I would rather be free in the abyss than caged in my conclusion. So this song is actually the most heartfelt to me on the album. And if you are going through a transition, whether it is a divorce or a breakup or a move or an identity shift, this song is for you. You're actually hearing it right now in the background. So be sure to check out my new album, My Body is an Altar. It is all about seeing yourself as a sacred site. It has this song, music you're gonna wanna dance to and while out to, music you wanna get sexy to, and so much more. It's really the full spectrum of the goddess. And this music has streamed through me to be shared with the collective. And I'm so excited to see it make its way into your life. So you can head over to Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, SoundCloud, stream the album Sahara Rose, My Body's an Altar. This song specifically is called Love Story. You can find all of those links in the show notes. And I'm super excited to see your stories and reels sharing your love story. So I want you to think about weight in the body. So we have been trained to put all of our weight in our minds. Be smart, be intelligent, be analytical, be rational. Think about your problem, talk about your problem, analyze your problem, make a pros and cons list about your problems, and then talk about it more to friends, and then you'll think your way to your right response. So all of our weight, like thousands of pounds, is all in our head. Nothing in our bodies. So think about a building. If I put all of the weight on top, what's going to happen? It's going to plummet, because there isn't enough weight that's holding it together from its foundation. So the practice of embodiment is to start to move some of this weight and disperse it down through the body so you can have more of that weight in your foundation. Now imagine I took this weight and I brought a lot of it down to the foundation, to your root, to your legs, your feet, your womb, your sacral, your gut. Now, all of a sudden, I can hold so much more on top because I have a strong foundation. That I can have moments where I'm thinking a lot or getting anxious or future tripping, but I can come back to this core foundation that I have. If I don't have that core foundation, it's going to overwhelm me and I'm going to burn myself out. So the reason why most people are anxious today is because they're lacking in embodiment. And the reason why most therapy and most talking about problems in itself is not working for people today is because it's lacking in embodiment. And I would not have had the glow up internally and externally, the transformation I've had, literally creating a whole new certification, rebranding Dharma Coaching Institute to Highest Self Institute, and becoming a musical artist and launching my first album, My Body is an Altar, which is like played in radio stations all over Africa with hundreds of thousands of streams. I didn't even know I could produce music at this time last year. None of this would have happened without embodiment. So I'm going to say this, embodiment is the missing link to everyone's healing journey. There is not one person on planet Earth who cannot benefit from being more embodied. And 99.9% of people in the Western world, or who have created a Western world lifestyle, are far too deeply in their heads. Because of colonialism, we have been trained that this is the way. So even in countries that used to be very deeply embodied, like in the Middle East, where my family's from, in Africa, in South America, where they used to be very connected to nature and the seasons of life and the cycles. And we would literally sit on the soil and eat with our hands and gather together in circle and dance and hold hands and tell stories and drum and look at the stars and the moon and see what was happening and connect that back to within ourselves. This is very rare in today's world because now, also due to colonialism and capitalism, even those countries have adapted very heady analytical perceptions of the world. And then what's happening across the world? Everyone's more anxious than ever before. This was never such an epidemic. On top of that, we're on these little devices all the time, which is literally all head. It's not even there. We are seeing videos of people. So our bodies are almost like responding in this way, but the actual person is not there. So we're not feeling their nervous system. We are not getting that same sense of connection that we would have gotten if we actually met up with that friend in person. Right? We think we're connecting because we're sending voice notes. I'm not seeing the little micro expressions on their face. I'm not feeling the energy of their heart. I'm not seeing the little tears that form in their eyes when they tell that story. In fact, they were probably disembodied as they told that story, multitasking. We're just reporting to each other. And we think that that's going to solve our problems. Yes, I would say it's better to send a voice note about your problems than to do nothing at all. But if you think that that's going to actually solve your problems, you're mistaken. You know, having gone through the biggest trauma of my life, not just the infidelity, but everything that came with that divorce, it was so hard on me. So hard on me. And it's literally not even been a year and a half. And through embodiment, through me actually walking my talk, not just saying that, but you guys can go back and look at my podcasts from just 2 years ago to now, and you will see the difference. And that difference is through embodiment. Because the other thing that happens is when you're more embodied, everything that you say comes from a place of knowing rather than thinking. You know, I see a lot of people online in the spiritual space, and they have a lot of great information to share. You know, they're saying all the right things, but there's a difference of someone who's been there. There's a difference of someone who's like, oh, I know what that's like. And the advice that you give, the space that you hold, the wisdom that you share is of a totally different frequency. That, you know, before I could have given heartbreak advice, but now the heartbreak advice that I give is on a whole other freaking level because I'm like, oh, I know the depths of hell that you are in right now. And I can firmly say that I trust and know that this will be the best thing that has ever happened to you should you choose it to be. And I can genuinely mean that because I've been there. And that's the difference between thinking, oh yeah, girl, you're going to get over it. It's going to be fine. Just manifest like your best reality, write down what you're looking for and Sky Daddy will deliver. Like, love that. But there's a whole other octave and you can feel it. You can even feel in someone's voice. So when someone's in their head, their voice tends to be a little bit higher and it's a little bit faster. And because you can see the frequency of it is a lot up, more higher up here, right? That nasal voice is really coming from the mind. Whereas when the energy is coming from deeper and deeper in the body. So now I'm speaking to you from my womb space and my root. So my voice is going to be a lot lower. There's going to be more of an earthy frequency to what I say. And it's going to be slower and more paced because I'm not in a rush. The air energy moves really fast because it's not grounded in anything, so it can move really quickly. Like in Ayurveda, we even have these doshas, these archetypes. It's the Vata dosha. It's very heady, air. Whereas that earth energy, earth is slow moving. Earth does not decide, hey, today I'm going to like do a full spin around my axis in 1 hour because I feel like it. No, 24-hour cycle every single day, predictable, smooth, but all in divine timing. And that's the beauty of embodiment. It's like when you're embodied, you're no longer like trying to impress or on the edge of your seat. Do you like me? Or I need to figure this out. Or I'm so overwhelmed. I got to get to the solution. You are dropped into your throne. And you are trusting the seasons and cycles of life. And you are trusting your body's wisdom. And you are no longer looking outside of yourself for answers, but you are listening to the voice within. And that state of gnosis, what we call it, inner knowing, is actually what makes you so magnetic. Because people are drawn to those who know themselves, who value themselves, who are not out there trying to chase and fix, but rather sitting in their throne and sitting in their frequency and letting the people who are in alignment come to them. So not only does embodiment completely shift your own inner state, but it shifts your relationships. It shifts your friendships. It shifts your work. It informs everything that you do. So if you are someone that knows you are here for a deeper form of healing, for the more feminine path. And when I say the word feminine, I don't mean you have to be a woman, but the feminine is all things, right? The feminine is creativity, it's expression, it's love. The feminine is not trying to separate itself from the world and go up to the mountains and, reach enlightenment away from all the crazy ass humans, The feminine is with the children, with the body, with the earth, with the soil. It is dancing with all of life. It is not trying to separate itself, but rather it's trying to weave itself. That's what the word tantra means, to weave with. So if you are on a more feminine pathway of healing, which, I love all of these like great spiritual teachers, but the thing is they're all men. They're all old men. And love me a good meditation on non-duality and accessing the quantum field. And that's an important part of the spiritual journey. But my pathway is to become more fully alive. I am not here to be neutral. I am not here to feel nothing. I am here to feel all of the things, the aliveness, the heartbreak and the heart opening, the joy and the grief. Because I don't want to live a bland life of nothingness where I have, plasticked my heart so I don't feel anything too much. What's the point of life? And when we're no longer afraid of our sadness and our anger and our grief, we become so much more free. The greatest gift of doing my embodiment practice every single day is that now I'm not afraid of anything in my consciousness. So when I feel something come up, feeling rejection or loneliness, instead of running away from it or trying to eat or go on Instagram and distract myself from it, I sit with it. I come back to the triple E method: emote, embody, express. And then that energy moves through me. And what's on the other side is connection, is bliss, is pleasure, is sensuality, is richness, is abundance. But I would have never found my way genuinely to that place had I not first looked at what I was really feeling without suppressing it underneath the rug. Most people, they feel the anger, they suppress it, and those are the angriest people. The angriest people are the people who have never really felt their anger. But what we teach you in the embodiment certification is let yourself have a rage ritual. Punch pillows, scream into them, go into your car and yell as loud as you want. Say all of the things that you wish you could say. And then you exhale and you feel freed. And you're no longer holding on to that energy anymore, which means you're no longer subconsciously manifesting from that place. Because that energy has been freed from you. It's like that energy just wanted to go center stage and like have the mic for a sec. Anger was like, can you listen to me? I have something to say. My boundaries were crossed. And then if you're like, here's Mike Anger, tell us what you got to say. And it's like, fuck you. It has its moment. And then it's like, you exhale, shake it off. And then it's like, la, 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 la. Let's listen to the new Beyonce album. from a genuine space instead of like, oh my God, I'm so angry. Listen to the Beyonce anger. Don't think about the anger. Is like, you're going to be seething through that album and it's not going to feel so good. Maybe you're going to choose the Lemonade album if you're feeling that. But like, play the Lemonade album and let yourself get angry. Like, have your moment with it. We're so afraid of feeling that we end up feeling that thing forever. If we just felt it, we're released from it. And that's what we teach you in our embodiment certification that the doors are open for right now at the Highest Self Institute. So if you haven't heard, Highest Self Institute is my school. So the Dharma Coaching Institute has branched into becoming the Highest Self Institute. So we are the premier spiritual certification school. We have a wide range of certifications now, including this embodiment one. So we certify you to work with clients on using our Triple E method, and not just working with clients, but first of all, working on yourself with it. So going through your own emotional processes, learning how to hold space for yourself and for others, learning about the nervous system, learning about how to handle life's bigger things without feeling so heavy. I feel like in this trauma-informed space, we're like, I've read Body Keeps Score and all of these books, but it's almost like we take the most acute examples of these things and we're like, oh, that's what it's like. But the truth is we experience traumas every day. I mean, if you go on social media, we're exposed to them every single day. And there's these big T and small t traumas, but they all actually add up in the nervous system. And I feel that so many of us, we are so afraid of going there that it ends up getting stuck under the rug. And the missing thing that we've also seen with coaches working with clients is when some of these traumas come up, they don't know what to do. They freeze. And then that makes the client feel unheard and unseen. And it also makes you feel like you don't really know what to do. So it's like, how can we allow these bigger emotions to be processed without having to get down to the bottom of, okay, where did this come from? And we're not here to solve the trauma or get to the bottom of the story. We don't actually go into the story of what happened at all, but rather we address how it's showing up in your body today. Because the thing is, you don't actually have to know what it is that you are sad or angry or hurt about to release it from your being. In fact, it's when we start thinking about it too much that we actually bring that emotion back up and we re-traumatize ourselves. How many of you think about the thing that hurt you every single day and end up just re-hurting yourself again and again and again and again? We do this because it's our body's way of trying to heal and close the loop. But really, if we just fully went into it with the Triple E method, felt it at its core, it doesn't come back up. Because once that thing is actually fully felt, it's cleared and released from your system. And this is what we not only help you do, but help you hold space to do with other people. So whether you are a yoga teacher, a breathwork teacher, a meditation teacher, or simply interested in those things, or maybe you are a life coach, a Dharma coach, a spiritual coach, hypnotherapist, NLP, or you want to be one of those things. Embodiment is the tool everyone needs in their toolkit because life is life. And, these things happen. You're going to be working with a client, whether it's in your yoga practice or in coaching with them, or even if you work in HR or you're even a barista. I'm sure you've had people have breakdowns on when you're doing their hair. And sometimes we just don't know what to do and we freeze. And then we're like, it's all working out for the best. And we say something like that. And then we're like, oh my God, did I totally spiritual bypass? And, we're like, did that actually help them or did it cause more harm? And we second guess ourselves. I feel like in life, we all need to know these things. We're all holding space for each other. We're all, really our friends' lifelines. And most of us, all of us have never been trained. I myself, had I not done so many different certifications and workshops, would have never found myself here. Definitely not from my dad's advice. He should sign up. So I say this because what happens is when you do that deeper embodiment work and you're just not afraid of the bigger emotions is you actually become so much more light and free. Life just becomes this beautiful dance that you're like, oh, here we are in the shadow realm and here we are back in the garden. And it's just where will we be today? It's just fun, and I'm able to carry this sense of lightness with me is because I've done that deeper embodiment work, that I'm not holding on to all of this darkness under the cover that I'm not wanting to look at, but I'm freed from it. So even if you just want to go through this process for yourself and you're like, I don't think I ever want to coach, but I like what you're saying, and I know this is what I need for my own healing practice, you can do the embodiment certification in just 3 months for yourself. In fact, we have about 50% of our students doing it for their own healing and 50% to actually become a coach. And then what often happens is you start for your own healing and you realize you have everything you need to be a coach. So this is a perfect add-on if you already are a coach or if you just want to dive deeper into a more feminine and whole body, whole human form of healing. Doors are open for the next 2 weeks. We have our free daily embodiment practice as well. If you want to experience what it's like to be more embodied and actually do a daily embodiment practice with me, this is what I do every single day to just get back into the flow, open up any stored blockages within my body so I can open up to really access the creativity and love and bliss and radiance and joy that is already inside of me. It's just sometimes the hose just gets like muddled up with life. So you can find all of those links below. Head over to highestselfinstitute.com. That's highest, HIGHEST, selfinstitute.com to find more of that information. Again, doors are open for the next 2 weeks. If you're listening to this after the month of May 2024, just head over to our website to join our waitlist for when doors open again. We are running this live, so I will be on the weekly calls with you every single week, as well as my co-founder, Dr. Neetha, who will also be teaching you all about the science of embodiment, the nervous system. She has overcome such huge things in her life, losing her parents and her brother, and also going through a divorce. So both of us are really speaking from this place of gnosis. And you hear a lot of the science of embodiment from her and the practicality of embodiment through me. So we've come together to co-create this incredible certification that we've been running for now 2 years. We have graduated hundreds of people and have seen the most insane transformations. So I know wherever you are in your journey, this certification is going to bring you so much more enrichment and aliveness and meaning and juiciness and pleasure in your life. It's honestly really fun. That's what I love about just the way that we teach at Highest Self Institute is we take these things that could be heavy, but we make them really joyful. And you're going through it live. So it's not like, you sign up for those like online courses and they're somewhere in your bookmarks, but you haven't opened that bookmark in a really, really long time. It's on your to-do list, but you never actually do it. It's not going to be one of those, honey, because we're actually going to be going through it live every single week. I'm going to be on the Q&A call. You're actually also going to be practicing it every single week. So you're going to be in breakout groups with 1 or 2 other people that you're practicing the method that we learn every single week and getting feedback. So this is really an incubator for you to bring embodiment into your life, to practice it with other people. You're radically going to shift over the next 3 months. I'm so excited to see your glow up. You're going to look amazing. Whole new wardrobe, new bitch, who does? And on top of that, you could have a whole new career as well. Wouldn't that be fly? I mean, if you want it to be a reality, it will be a reality because that's what we're going to train you to do. So all you got to do is say yes. Go to the show notes and click the link and you can join us this year to become a certified embodiment coach. All right, we are so excited to see you at the Highest Self Institute. I'm so grateful for you just being open to these new forms of healing, which actually aren't really new. They're quite ancient, but they're making a comeback finally today because we've realized that all of this psychoanalyzing Western world perception of things is kind of making us stuck in a loop. So let's dive into the body. Let's listen to our ancestors and let's actually take the true form of healing that our bodies have always known, which is to release it from a cellular level so we can come back into our hearts, into our wisdom, into our joy, and co-create our soul's purposes. All right, you can find those links in the show notes, and I'll see you in the next episode. Namaste.
Trust your intuition, trust your inner wisdom, trust your inner guidance. Close your eyes and listen. Surrender, let go. So trust your intuition, trust your inner wisdom, trust your inner guidance. Close your